done literally all of the major cast. And actually, it's the older cast that I've done it with. So done Tim, Annabelle, Michael, Sonny. I've done loads.
Oh, great.
Done loads. But was leaving the best till last though. That's the thing,
Of
you
course.
know.
Very wise.
Just bear with me. Got one more button to
Yeah.
press,
No
and
worries.
then we can. Oh, here we go. Because next we should. All right, great. So YouTube has kicked on. With NetSuite by Oracle, you get a full picture of your business and. All right. So here we go. I think. Yay! There's my face on YouTube. I'm gonna admit all. All right. Whoa. And we're starting exactly on time. This is utterly fantastic.
Hang on.
Uh, mm, Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy Lockdown Friday. Now, first off, before we get going, it occurred to me. There's me thinking I was all incredibly organised today that I completely forgot to do the quiz. 15 minutes before recording, I was all chill, thinking, gosh, I've got this nailed. I did a mid Atlantic an hour and a half beforehand, patting myself on the back, just about to smoke a proverbial cigar, and I realised I hadn't done the quiz. So, if you've only come here for the quiz, you're going to be disappointed. However, I know you haven't only just come here for the quiz. You come here to see Quentin Rayner. How are you, Quentin? You're unmuted. Go for it. Tell you just just before we get going and we introduce Arthur to everybody. Um, Mute all your microphones if they're not already. So Lynn Hay, you've got to mute, and you, Lonnie Bihar, and then Quentin Rayner. Can you actually hear me, Quentin? Oh, well, we've got some problems there. All right. So, and I'm going through the list. Do we have Rosie Porty? No, Rosie. Right. Anyway, it's all go here in California, folks, and we have been blessed in the last week. Also, you can hear all the pings in the background. We've been utterly blessed in the last week with how tip top the Archers has been. I must admit, I've been utterly blown over. And those script writers have really given us a whole sucker punch, haven't they? Lulled us into a false sense of security with these monologues or monologues and whatever. And now the Archers has roared back into action. And one of the reasons why it's utterly just transfixed all of us is the performance of one Arthur Hughes, who plays Rory, um, the love child of Brian and Siobhan. So, Arthur, you have to unmute your
Michael, I don't know
microphone,
if you can
sir.
hear me. I can't hear anything, but
I can hear you, Quentin, but you've utterly ruined my intro. So, if you can't, so I'm gonna mute you. Um, There you go, folks. Nothing like a little bit of live zooming, is there? So, just as I was building up to this crescendo, to say that we've been enthralled to two wonderful performances. But the first one, which utterly blew our socks off, was the one by Arthur Hughes, who plays Rory. Arthur, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks, Royfield. It's lovely to be with everyone here tonight.
First off, right?
Yep.
How do I get such a wonderful hairy chest? Because I'm not as manly as you, sir.
It's a great question. And I just say never shave it. Just don't touch it.
Uh huh.
Shampoo it, scrub it, say sweet words to it, uh, and it'll do what you want.
Do you really, honestly shampoo your chest? There's a serious question.
I
Serious
don't.
question.
I don't actually. I do. I mean, I do wash it, but I don't. I don't shampoo it. Maybe I should. Maybe I should to get more volume into it.
Um, Radio acting, acting. When did it all start for you? Let's just start with acting before we get on to how you ended up in Ambridge.
So, acting is, showing off and playing and messing about. So I think, I've always liked that from a very young age, and it's nice to, it's nice to show off. I've always found, and as I kind of grew older and older, you're trying to pick a career. I think it was always in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. I've kind of always done it at school since I was a kid, drama club, things like that, and local youth theatre, doing plays and stuff. And then by the time I was 18, and A levels and picking what to do, I thought I will regret, despite pressure from school and parents somewhat, going to uni to study drama on the page instead of going to drama school and pretending to be a tree and all that. So I decided, so I went to drama school. I was fortunate enough to get in at when I was 18. I went to the Royal Welsh College.
Were you from a Thesby family? Were you all artsy fartsy?
No, like not in the slightest. Actually, it's just me. So
what do Ma and Pa do? Let's give us a sense of them.
So my mum was a maths teacher for about 12, 13 years. She actually taught at the school where I went, but after I'd left. And then my dad is the managing director of a like architectural software company. Kind of do big projects like the big roundabout Elephant and Castle in London, if anyone knows that. It's a kind of big engineering structural projects. So like nothing to do with acting or the arts or anything. Not to say they don't enjoy those things, but I think it was just something that I don't know, I always wanted to do. And I think there comes a point maybe when you kind of realize, is this just something I like to do as a hobby on the side, or do I want to properly give it a go? And it's an interesting career.
So how long have you actually been a proper thesp?
About 10 years, maybe just under that, maybe about 8 years, because I graduated in 2013. So it's more like 7, but I did work whilst I was at drama school as well. But graduated summer of 2013, so I've lived in London since then.
And I know some actors, ultimately they say they want to tread the boards, they want to work, for them it's been in the West End or maybe even working in Hollywood. But I know for a fact you are going to tell me that your ultimate destination when you decided you want to be an actor was actually Ambridge.
Well, quite. And it's funny, actually. Playing Ruairi was my second attempt at trying to get into Ambridge, because I did also audition for the role of Chris Carter the year before. And funnily enough, the actor who plays Chris, Wilf Scolding, is a very good friend of mine, and we were in the same year at drama school together, and we had our radio lessons together. But coming to Ambridge is, the Archers is an institution, and I've, it's been, I've heard it since, I was very small. My dad listens.
But be honest though, right, Arthur? You just amongst there's about 30 odd people on YouTube. I don't know how many there are on Facebook, and there's only 51 on Zoom. Right? Did the young Arthur actually like the Archers?
I'm going to be honest with you. No, I wasn't. When I was a teenager, my dad used to listen to it. I don't know. I wasn't into radio drama in any way. I think I didn't really listen to the radio in that way. And it was, I used to start listening to radio drama when I got to drama school and properly studying it, properly thinking about acting and using my imagination in that way. And so brass tacks, it wasn't something that I listened to, but I always known what it was, and especially as I kind of grew as an actor, and realized that I liked acting for radio, it was obviously the place that I had to go, and here I am.
You talked about Friends and the fact that the actor who plays the other kind of like guy of the moment, Chris Carter, that he's your friend. I need to thank somebody because we kind of have somebody in common, don't we? Who's a bit of a friend, and it's Francesca. She's the reason why we're actually even talking. So, Francesca, if you could quickly
Hello.
unmute yourself. Hello, how are you, my dear?
Hiya. I'm
Oh,
good, thank
hello.
you. Hi, Arthur.
Hi,
How's
Fran.
it
Oh,
going?
nice to see you.
You too.
Oh,
I've been watching since the beginning, but only just got the Zoom link. So I was watching on Facebook.
Well, again, here's the power of friendship, but also the Dumteedum community, everybody. So if it wasn't for Francesca, we wouldn't be talking to Arthur right now. So thank you, Francesca, for being
yeah.
a
No
very
worries.
valued member of the community, and also a member of the community who has friends in high places, friends in Ambridge. Just I think things are starting to settle down now. We've got a great load of people over there on YouTube. Lady Lourdes 1000 says, Arthur, she knows the Elephant and Castle roundabout very well. LOL. There you go. So it's a big shout out to people who are watching us on YouTube. If you've just joined up with us, I've kind of messed up. We don't have, apart from the fact that my camera's a little bit on the skew-if and whatever, because it's perched on a bed here. There's no quiz, right? So I'm going to fiendishly try and going to have to find something for us to do halfway through, so that a copy of the book Ambridge at War can be sent out to somebody. But the general format of this is that I talk for a little bit. We do have Quentin Rayner. If you can actually hear me, unmute your microphone. And we also do have Rosie Porty with us. So hopefully they'll have some intelligent questions actually to ask our Arthur. Arthur, tell us about the whole process of you. So you wanted to be Chris Carter. You wanted to be the blacksmith, didn't you? The big hunky blacksmith. When they said no, was it a case of no, don't darken our door again, or was it a case of we quite liked your performance? Come back, keep trying.
I think it was. I think it was more like that. The audition was lovely, and yeah, I mean, despite the hairy chest, they still wouldn't go for it. Cause I guess it's harder to convey that over the radio. But no, it was the audition was lovely. They are, it's such a lovely team of people, and even as my first experience of ever meeting anyone was that audition, and it was lovely, and the feedback I got was really nice, but sometimes your voice just isn't right for a character, and and obviously I was so pleased that it went to a friend of mine instead. But
weren't you a little bit kind of like, not come on?
Of course I was, of course, but I think whenever you don't get a job,
and it's worse, it's even worse because it's gone to a pal.
Oh, see, I don't mind that. I think the fact that it was him, and I think it was someone I like, I can stomach it maybe a little easier. But I think as soon as I got the email saying I'd got an audition, it was absolutely, oh my God, this is mine, and I'm going to get it. And I think that's always kind of my attitude when you get a job, and then when you find out you haven't got it, it does hurt. But I think it was such a lovely process, and I did get the impression that it was that it was you did really well, but we would bear you in mind, and they did, and for such a lovely role, like I really enjoyed playing Ruairi.
So you think that really what you weren't conveying in that performance was beef behind the metal forge, that they didn't feel that you could build up a sweat whilst knocking out a horseshoe?
No, I don't. I think that they were hearing pubescent teen more than hunky farrier. Try as I might, and I've been trying. I still say to Wilf today that Heart should have been mine. Look how big I am now. Look how sweaty I am. But no, the powers that be, wouldn't go for it. And I do. Maybe I still hold it against them a little bit. But
Rosie McGlynn, you're unmuted. Have we got you, Rosie? Hello,
Yeah.
me dear. How's Portobello? How's Edinburgh?
Edinburgh's beautiful, lovely, clear day today. So it's been gorgeous.
Do you have a question or two for our Arthur here? Because I've got buttons I need to press here. So
Yeah.
can you just take over proceedings for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. So Arthur, lovely to meet you, and
Hi, Rosie.
wonderful performances.
Thank you very much.
And I think the past couple of weeks have had lots of us in tears. So the laundry bills are going up in terms of mascara. And is there a kind of BBC fund that we can kind of, tap into to help us through this traumatic time that we're having?
Yeah, I think they probably should have thought of that when they wrote such emotional scripts, that there was going to be a lot of smears on various fabrics around the house with people crying so much. I can only assume there must be, so I'll pass it along, and you'll probably get a wad of fivers in the post at some point.
I'm looking forward to that. One of the kind of key questions that kept coming up in my mind before the wonderful return of Siobhan was Troy, and Ben's reaction to Troy was absolutely hilarious. I think did he just keep shouting, "Is he a Greek porn star?" Like, I think I heard him say that like 5 times or something. When you were kind of doing that scene with Ben, did you have like a visualization of what Troy actually looked like? Is he a kind of a Greek god, or is he more a kind of...
Yeah, I wonder what people's first image in their minds is when you think of Greek porn star. Is it some naked bronze with a discus behind the head, kind of on something painted on a vase? I don't know. Maybe that's what I thought of. I think you'd have to ask Ben that, because it's whether that's what he was thinking of. I think I can't. Was it Ben who says Greek porn star, or Ruairi?
Yes, it's because of the because DJ Trevor Drizzle.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you've heard of this, Arthur, but Trevor Drizzle is a kind of romance scammer from Nigeria in real life. So I'm not quite sure how the kind of romance scammer from Nigeria has then translated himself into
Comedian.
The kind of the Borchester Massive.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure. Was it like a DJing gig that
really it was a comedian. I think it was like a kind of character comedian who, because there was there's his catchphrase, which was where do you get them plates? Which I'm not actually sure what we assumed it was some kind of like sketch show, and he was Trevor Drizzle is the star, and where do you get them plates is this catchphrase, which they obviously like to say to one another. But no, I didn't know that he was a Nigerian romance con artist. That's what, like, as in he gets people to fall in love with him.
I think he basically kind of like pretends to be, say, like an American general. So like on dating sites, you'll get, I don't know, like General Danvers, who lost half a leg somewhere and just needs that bit of cash. So I think Trevor Drizzle is a bit of a cash generating love machine type dude.
Yeah,
like a catfish type person. So yeah, it was a very weird kind of like blending of the worlds. And in my mind, he was some kind of DJ. So I didn't at all pick up on this.
Oh right, yeah. I think it was tickets for his like a stand-up show or something.
Right. Okay.
With Troy and Munster. Yeah.
Quentin, are you actually properly connected to us now?
Well, there he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can.
Oh, blimey! I had a complete computer mare. Sorry. So yes, I've missed all the first bit, so I've got no idea what you've been talking about at all.
Put your cans on there, Quentin. Looking very professional.
It's the only way it works. It's the only way it works.
I tell you, I
Don't
tell you
say.
what you've missed. Arthur started off by telling us how to shampoo a hairy chest and how to get full volume with the capillaries on said chest. That was the way he kind of opened proceedings.
Right.
You're obviously a real man, a man who had his heyday in the 1970s, Quentin. So you obviously have a rug on your chest. Do you shampoo your chest?
Like what an opener. I've only just come on. This is assuming that I have a hairy chest. Shall we take a vote on this? Do we all think I've got a
Well,
hairy
no,
chest?
you can just, we're on Zoom. You can just prove it by just like whipping off your shirt.
You have
I'd
to
ra-
build suspense.
I'd rather not really.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I
Do
do.
you
I do.
have-
I do. I am hirsute of the chest.
Right. I knew
Yes.
it. Absolutely.
I don't deliberately shampoo it up of a shower. No, I don't. I think it just gets generally lathered up, in all the other follicles.
Don't get everybody excited, Quentin.
About my follicles. What?
Lathering your follicles on a Friday.
Yes. So that they don't get a special lathering. No, Roy Phil. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm sure Rory, Arthur, God, Rory, has a much better technique anyway. Why does he lather up his chest anyway? Why do you do that, Arthur? I've come late to this party.
just for special occasions like this.
Right. So you're fully lathered for tonight, are you? What's this got to do with the Archers?
I have no idea.
I'm beginning to wonder.
This is how Dumteedum goes, Arthur.
Exactly.
Do you
Arthur,
listen to the podcast, Arthur, at all?
No, this is my first time I've heard of it.
Right. You'll never come back.
I didn't realise it was so. Yeah.
Out there. Yes. Well, welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
nuts.
Arthur,
I've got more questions later on. Okay, Roy.
Yeah, great. Arthur, we talked about friendship and the fact that your pal got the role of Chris. But one of the things which is utterly lovely about the character of Rory is your now relationship, your on-mic relationship with Ben. It feels very real to me, and it feels, dare I say, teenagery. Right. I had the opportunity to speak to Ben Norris at the start of the summer, the start of lockdown, actually. And his first day on set was also your first day on set, wasn't it? Yeah. So, and he says you've actually become friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben and I actually also, the same as Wilf, went to the Royal Welsh College in Cardiff. He went there as well, but he was a few years after I'd graduated. But we met in the audition to play. I to play Ben, I to play Rory, and he to play Ben. We didn't do our scene together, the audition scene, but then we found out we'd both got it. And yeah, absolutely. I think whenever we're recording together, we'll always grab a coffee or a pint or something after, and obviously it completely helps to be friends with when you're playing friends. And yeah, I mean, a lot of our scenes have been very funny and very silly, and it does have that. I'm glad you say that it's that silly, funny, teenagery banter, and it's been nice play under 18 trying to get served and trying to get booze and all that. It's a lot of fun.
Obviously, what's really taken all of our breaths away in the last week as listeners is you listening to your mum on the CD, and for us listeners of a certain kind of vintage, I must admit I had a real kind of visceral reaction when I heard your on-air mum's voice, because it obviously was the same actor who played all those years ago. I was on blummy now, it's Siobhan. It really is Siobhan. Tell us what type of direction you had to play that scene, and then how you actually approached it, because it utterly was a gut wrench. It was utterly moving.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, from first reading the script to performing it to listening to it. It really moved me, and my kind of what was really useful, my kind of process in approaching it was when I first read it, it was the most I've ever been given on my relationship with Siobhan as Ruairi. As Arthur the actor, I've got episodes to listen to from 14 years ago. But in terms of what Rory knows or remembers, not very much. So to be given so much at once was quite an overwhelming hit to learn so much so quickly. And I think it's that what I drew the kind of comparison between Rory getting that CD and learning all these things is a load of information to get quite quickly. So I just had to remember the way I felt as I learned all this. It was moving for me. It was to have so much powerful information. And when we first read the episode on Zoom, because obviously that's how we do our read-throughs now instead of up at the studio because of COVID. I've never met Caroline before, and the first time was on Zoom. So as soon as she'd entered, it was there was this face and there was this voice with this beautiful Irish accent, and I'm suddenly faced with my mum, who I've only as Rory got a ghost-like memory of, and now here she is in the flesh. I can actually see her, I can hear her, and she's about to read this beautiful letter, this beautiful message about telling me everything I needed to hear. So strangely, it's not, you don't really use your eyes that much in radio apart from to read the script, but it was useful to look at this, look at the actor looking back at me on Zoom and manifesting a physical person that you're talking to. And so when we recorded it, I was in one room and Caroline was in another, in the dead room for some outside it's to kind of create a different atmosphere of sound. So she wasn't even nearby for me to look at. Angie, who plays Jenny, was next to me. So as I was listening to her read it, because I didn't really say much during it, but our director wanted me to physically, audio-wise, be there. So I just pictured her face like we'd done it in the read-through, and made sure I could breathe and react to certain things that she said, like maybe like a little laugh when she talks about the little T-shirt with a robot on it, or of course when she says maybe you've got a girlfriend, maybe you've got a boyfriend. That's obviously that was massively important to Rory. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't that we were both, you could hear us both there. You could hear the CD, you could hear me reacting, listening to this massive thing. And I just held her face kind of in my head as I was listening. And it was really, really lovely to record. Like my favorite episodes to record as Rory. It's just been, such a treat.
I mean, Arthur, the chemistry that came across from Caroline towards you was palpable, and kind of, the warmth, and when her voice was breaking, and then when she was talking about the birthday tea, like just that was just heartbreaking listening to. And then actually as well, sort of Jenny being there, it felt very physical, like as a listener, there's a lot of, you were able to hold that space really powerfully. And
thank you.
It really, the acting was really tremendous. And in terms of getting prepared for that, did you have to do a lot of like breath work, or how did you kind of get centered towards it, or did you just jump in?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously we read each scene, and then we discuss it. And I think I've worked with Angie, who plays Jenny, for 2 years now, and had a lot of really nice stuff with her. We've got like a nice working relationship together. Caroline, obviously, I'd never met her before, and until that day. And in terms of any work we could do together, there's not really time. You just kind of crack straight on. And aside from, I've obviously read the scripts 4 or 5 times before we record it, and have a look at certain points. But I think I find this with acting mostly. I think if I do too much work, this isn't like my lazy get out of jail free, but I do believe that if you do too much on something, you second guess your instincts. And if you've already made decisions before you come to actually doing it, you're manufacturing it. So I wanted to, I obviously wanted to hear this CD for the first time as much as I could. I wanted to be able to respond to it without the mumbling over my words. I wanted to be prepared, but it's almost like I don't want to know too much. I want to know enough about Ruairi, but not enough about what I'm going to hear. So it was, I guess, more a question of I just needed to trust my instincts when I heard it. There was certain things that were going to come up, but if I knew exactly when it was going to be there, then then my or my laugh or whatever would be. It's not music set to a meter. It's organic. Well, I'd like it to be organic. I'd like it to be in the moment. So if anything, it's resisting the urge not to make too many decisions beforehand, because otherwise you're manufacturing it and not truly reacting to it.
Well, it felt super authentic, and I think the reactions that you've seen echo that. And in terms of this the jaws were dropping, and as I say, the mascara was leaking across the world as these two people kind of met again in real time, and it was really wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I mean, absolutely hats off to the writer Katie Hymns, who I've worked with her a few years ago on another radio play, and she's a brilliant writer, and she handled that episode so tenderly. But I think when the writing's that good, you kind of just you need to just let it do its thing. It's and I think what was so satisfying about it was it's such a volatile situation, bringing all this back up with bringing Siobhan back into that house now, and Ruairi not knowing enough. There's a lot of, without knowing what it was, there's a lot of potential for it to go wrong, not just for me, not just for Ruairi, but for Jenny to hear something and then Brian to hear something as well, and it all to just stir it all back up again. So it was it was tense as well, and I think that palpable tension of what are we going to hear, and then it to be the most comforting, warm thing. It was it was written just so wonderfully.
It was written really wonderfully, but I think you've really displayed how much care and effort and time you put into your craft. So with your answer, you weren't just reading the lines. You were digging deep to put us listeners exactly into the emotional space that Ruairi was in, and we got to thank you for that, because I was just doing my daily ablutions, I had the archers on. I wasn't ready for that. What you put me through.
Thought you unawares.
Yeah, you absolutely did. It was just wonderfully written, as you said, but it was beautifully acted. How close are you with the actor who plays your stepmom and who plays your dad? I had the wonderful opportunity to accidentally get into a lift with Charles about 2 years ago, and got all fanboy silly and whatever. I literally squealed when he went, "Ground floor, please," and I went, "Bloody hell!" I know who you are. You're Brian Aldrey. He said, yes, I am. Whatever. What are they like to work with?
They're absolutely charming. They're such lovely people. Charles, my first scenes, my first episode when Ben and I were joyriding in the fields. And so obviously, working with Ben, we were both newbies. So that was exciting to have that in between us. But Charles has just been so lovely and funny and and interested in us as the new blood since we started. He's very, very funny man, and obviously an absolute class act. He's been in the Archers for however long, so it's also great to watch someone like that, watch an absolute pro, and pick up some radio tips. And Angie, I think the relationship, Jenny being such a being amazing to like forgive everything and raise this raise the small child as your own, and I love playing that with Angie. And obviously these episodes hit that at the absolute like peak of that relationship, to really how much Rory does mean to her, and so it's all they're just playing the scenes with her. It's lovely. She's very warm, very generous, and another absolute pro. So it's nice when they're when the two real not that everyone's a pro on the show, but like they been on it for so long. I think the shared time on the Archers between them is decades. So to have like scenes with them all the time is you're spoiled, really.
Right.
Can I just ask?
I was going to say, just before you jump in there, Quentin, if you have a question, Dumteedummers, mass ranks of Dumteedummers, now is the time to get them all like poised, because after Quentin's interrogated young Arthur here, we're going to let loose the communal mic so you can jump on and ask your question. So what you need to do is either use the wave function on Zoom, or I will go into kind of the gallery view and you can kind of physically wave. So either one will do, and I'll come to you. But Quentin Rayner, over to you, sir.
No, I mean, I'll ask a few more questions later on, but just to pick up what Arthur was saying, you said you've learned a lot from working with such actors who've been doing it for years. As a young actor, what have you learned in terms of how to perform radio drama from these actors? What techniques have you picked up? Because the assumption is you just walk in there, pick up the script and just record it, but there's obviously much more to it. What have you fundamentally learned about the craft from those actors?
No, absolutely a lot, because like you say, it's not, I think maybe a lot of actors who haven't done it would think, oh, it's the easiest job in the world, don't need to shave, don't need to learn the lines, don't need to wear a costume, you just turn up, read it, bish bash bosh, and you're on the train home. It's when all you've got to use is your voice, you need to paint your emotions with your voice, and there's I've done a lot of theatre as well, and I think sometimes maybe there's a tendency for me to really display exactly what I'm saying, and and actually these the microphone's so delicate, it does, and so it's like a really close-up camera, but obviously just for your voice, but it can pick up every detail, every flinch, and so I think watching those guys, it's things like your breath that you wouldn't think of on stage to really play with nuance, but it can tell so much. And I think what I've watching when those guys are recording, the older actors, it's listening, it's the listening and using your breath for that, because you don't need to realize that someone is listening when they're plonked on a stage, because obviously they're right there. we don't know who's there when you're with the mic. So it's keeping that sense of breath that you're present, using it to react to things, and using that outside the script. That is a skill in itself.
Do you have to underplay it a bit to make it more realistic, more conversational?
Yes, exactly. And it's like I was saying earlier about, those instinctive reactions that I think if you try and place them in, it doesn't feel real. And the microphone kind of demands real realism. I think you're having to paint the world of Ambridge as a listener in your head. So the dialogue has to feel like real people to really get the truth of it in there. And
And just, I mean, I was always been a big fan of Siobhan. I thought that was the great storyline, her and Brian, and all the fallout. Well, you're the fallout.
Yeah.
So it was lovely to hear Caroline Lennon back on the airways, the original actor as well. And I did tweet about this. Do you think there's any way they can manufacture another appearance by Caroline? I don't know, some other CDs discovered by Auntie Neve, maybe one for Jenny, maybe one for Brian, maybe one for you on your 21st. I mean,
we joked
Caroline.
We did joke about that when we were recording it. I think Charles was asking, when am I going to get my CD?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe some kind of, Ouija board or, ritual could summon her back, but don't really know how else. I think once the CD is done once, whether you can do it again, I can't speculate, but it would be nice because she's such a fab actress.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear her leave one for Brian, wouldn't it? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope Auntie Neve's rummaging in the drawers anyway.
Yes, over an island. There must be one somewhere.
There's a question on Facebook. It's from Steve Thomas. He says, I want to hear Arthur's Chris voice. So when you went for that audition to be Chris, did you play up the whole kind of country yokel voice?
I did. Yes, I was not trying to do it was like West Country, Black Country kind of mix. I don't know, if you want to give me something to say, I'll try and do it in the accent that if I can remember.
Oh, crumbs. All right, Francesca Word Salad. You're the reason why Arthur is on. So why don't you give Arthur a line to say in the voice of Chris Carter?
Well, you're the Brummie, so I'm trying to think of the Black Country. So, okay, how about saying Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope next year we are COVID free.
Okay. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope next year we're COVID free.
Hey, props.
Oh,
I think
Chris in the room.
I think it was so long ago. It was roughly. It was something like that. And maybe because I've been listening to the episodes this week, it's more of an imitation of Wilf. But I think it would have been something like that.
How are you at making sculptures from bits of manky iron, Arthur?
I'm not bad, I've knocked a few up today, but I mean, I'm no pro. I don't think I could make a living out of it.
I think
I'll leave that to Chris.
Yeah, we don't think Chris is going to make much of a living out of his kind of mangled, weird thing that ended up in Linda's little shepherd's or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Now is the time, everybody. I'm going to go on to gallery view. All right. So, woo! Look at all these faces. There's 60 odd of you on Zoom. Amber Reeves Piggott coming to you. What a fringe! You're going to be next. And there's a whole load of people on. Hello, Jane Curzon. Hello, Lonnie Bihar. And there's a whole load of people over there on the YouTubes. We've had a right royal turnout for you, Arthur. I tell you. Right. All right. Amber Reeves Piggott, the voice of the week that was in Ambridge. Why don't you ask your question? Unmute yourself there, Amber. There you go.
Yeah. So my question is about like the particularities of acting in something like The Archers, an ongoing radio drama. Because like, obviously when you're acting and you're doing a play, it's a very different experience. For example, you've well, you've got the character start to finish. You know, you've got everything on the page that you know is going to be revealed about them. And so you yourself then have license to fill in the gaps and backstories and ideas about them so that you can fully form this character, because you know beyond the page there's nothing else that's going to come up, say, to contradict ideas that you've thought about them. And when you're in like an ongoing drama like The Archers, do you feel that you have to keep a more open mind rather than filling in these gaps? Because of course, you know, this week in particular, for example, has been one where we've learned a lot about Ruairi. And, you know, if you had ideas yourself, then, you know, it might have been in contrast to that. But does it like work in a collaborative process? Do you feel that, you know, when the script writers are writing, that they might say, learn from, you know, things that they might have picked up in the way that you characterize Ruairi, and whether there is kind of like a symbiotic dialogue going on there, or whether, you know, you just try and leave these gaps unfilled and just take it as it comes, really, with the script?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter of what you just say. I think, you know, as it comes, you don't really know what's coming, but maybe you can have a guess based on how how your character has come to where they are now. But obviously sometimes there's things thrown at you which are just like, wow, you know, so now, like, you know, these storylines were, you know, huge. And but that's, I love that. I love that, like, when it's a challenge, when it's something different. Because up until, you know, now, I've had great fun playing Ruairi, and but, you know, it's kind of been a lot of, you know, village antics and life. Like I mean, there was the storyline with Mia, and that was, you know, quite an interesting one too, but nothing like too massively deep. And it was nice to, you know, suddenly go like, oh, now we're going with this. And it's like, you know, it's adding a little color to your main paint, and it keeps changing with the little bits that you add in. And it's nice to not be knowing what happens, and it feels more like real life. You know, I don't know what's going to happen till I get it, and then I've got to, you know, adapt and change with it. It's a nice, you know, skill, I think, to be, you know, honing that, you know. And then this comes and you roll with it. And how does that change everything else that's happened before? It gives fresh. The context is always fresh with each episode, and there's nothing. There isn't like a spoken, or there isn't a symbiotic relationship out loud with the writers, but you know, they must listen, and we take the direction that, you know, your character is going in, roll with it. If they like it, maybe there's more that comes from that. So I think there is a back and forth. We don't, you know, it's not like, you must write me this now, I demand more of this. But like a play, like you were saying, a play, you know it start to finish, just exactly as you said, and so that those are your parameters. Whereas with The Archers, you know, 70 years this December, like, it's ongoing, it's timeless, it's hopefully infinite. You know, it goes on and on. It's so like real life, and every time you record, it's something committed to history. Every time you do a play, I mucked up that line tonight, I'll do it better tomorrow. Oh, I found something good, I'll do it better tomorrow. It's like it has a life that over a 5-week run, you know, reaches this and then it finishes. Whereas I think with that constant upgoing context in, here's something new about your character, here's something new, you're building something like a life, someone's full life. And I think I quite like that as a, you know, a different medium. So that's the kind of way I think about it, as, you know, each little bit comes along. It's like life, it just comes along, and you just got to roll with it, make the best of it.
Amber, that was a great question. And can I just say, I love your fringe, or as Americans call it, bangs. Loving your bangs, Mrs. Very
I've been
cool.
rocking it for years.
You are.
Star on the forehead.
There's a couple of questions before I come back on to gallery view. Beth Purnell says, could Carolyn Lennon come back as Auntie Neve? Yeah, it's just a slightly modulated voice. There you go.
Not
that's all right. Quentin, you get your wish. And then Laura Jackson says, were you surprised, Arthur, to learn about the bisexuality storyline? When did you learn about it, and where do you see it going in the future?
So when I got the script, yeah, I was surprised. I was, I think pleasantly surprised. To add that further dimension to Ruairi is a gift to know more about him. And it was nice to have that scene with Ben to tell him to be one of the few people he's told, and it was I think it was nice to receive and nice to perform. It was like I hope we did it some justice. It was very wanted to do it gently and like we were like a real friend to friend thing. As to where it can go, I couldn't speculate on where they want to take it. Who knows? And obviously Troy, the ex, has been mentioned, but who knows what future lovers Rory could have.
Right, we are on to Claire from Clapham. Unmute your mic, Mom. Ask your question.
Hi there. Hi, Arthur. If you're new to Dumteedum, you're probably not aware of the tradition that we have around having an Archer's Vintage, which is the first character who comes in after we start listening. And I started listening in the autumn of 2002, so I'm a Rory. And so I feel a particular connection to Rory as a character, because it was the complete kind of exposure of the relationship with Siobhan and stuff that really gripped me at the time. And I remember Rory being born. I have absolutely no memory of Josh being born in the same year. That was news to me years later. But then I think he was born earlier in the year and I wasn't listening then, so that's fine. Just probably wasn't as dramatic. So yeah, I really loved the scene with Ben when Rory came out as bi, and I was thrilled to tell my teenage daughter, "Oh, we've got a bisexual in the Archers," in the hope that would like make her vaguely interested, which is not yet, but we're still hopeful. So I guess my question is, how is Brian going to react, and how is Adam going to react? And if Rory's anything like Brian, I mean, like, there's literally no limit to how many people he's going to shag in the village. So where's that going?
Yes, if you're right, if he's a chip off the old block, who knows? Well, I mean, I think I don't know really. Like, as was said in the episode, like Adam has done a lot of the heavy lifting, but God, I don't know. Like, I think it's a loving relationship, but how I guess quite an older father would react to news in this day and age. I couldn't say. I don't want to guess it too much, because I'd hope, as me, it's something, it's supportive, or whether it's behind closed doors, it's more of an issue. Who knows? But hopefully maybe Adam would be there to kind of shoulder any concerns or worries about it. But I just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I haven't heard of anything.
It's actually an interesting point, Adam's reaction, because between the two brothers, the two siblings, there hasn't been an awful lot of mic time, has there? I can't think of any.
There was an episode. It was probably last year, and I've wondered about which was when Rory was helping at the was picking the strawberries or the raspberries. There's this new machinery, and kind of taking a bit of Rory started taking a bit of an interest in how all the machinery works, and how it goes each year with Adam. But that was kind of it. It was, and I wondered, what that might lead to, whether it was, Rory sowing seeds for some kind of future. I didn't really know, but that's about
massive
it.
Sibling rivalry, because you're Brian's favorite. You're gonna take away Adam's birthright. You're going to walk off with Home Farm, aren't you? Right, so time is oppressing everybody, so I'm back onto gallery view. So if you have a question, now is your time. This is just for the, I'm going to say big up to the Map Corner posse, because not only do we have Claire Asprey, who's asked a question, we have Nick Roworth, who's always on our Map Corner Zoom recordings that we do. So hello to you, Nick. So if you do have a question, right, Jane Curzon, unmute yourself, Mom, and ask your question. I've clicked ask to unmute.
I'm unmuted. First thing, it was a complete revelation to me tonight that you didn't have a CD. I absolutely believed you had a CD. I never thought that you had an actress in another room live. And that was just like, and her voice sounded as young as it did. And that is basically what my question is. Because we knew your mother and you never knew your mother. And so you're now looking at your whole family that knew your mother from those years ago. And first of all, my question is, what's it like to see all these people that knew your mother? And secondly, did you listen to the Archers as a child? Did you know it?
So I knew of the Archers, absolutely, and my dad used to play it in the car, but I didn't follow until years later when I was older, if I'm completely honest. Okay. But obviously, I knew it. I knew, when I remember my dad picking me up from after some club at school, and every time he'd pick me up, it would always be about 7 o'clock, so it would always be on.
You poor sod.
Sorry.
I said you poor sod.
But to see so many people, so
know your mother.
Yeah, who knew Siobhan, and she was, I think it was 4 years that her storyline was going on. It was and for me to come to it, learning about it, as playing her son, it's massive. And so as I was saying earlier, when I read the script, when I first heard it, it was like it was getting all this stuff for the first time. And so for all the listeners who know her so well, and and her to hear this voice, to like I said, it's quite an overwhelming emotion, because it was
for us.
It's a responsibility as well as me, the actor, to this exists in people's minds as as massive, as a huge thing. And it's I don't know, I think
Arthur, you didn't let us down. You didn't let us down. I've got half an eye on the time, so it's 3 minutes to the hour. Helen M, you've raised your hand, Helen. So why don't you unmute yourself and ask your question away?
Thank you, Royfield, and thank you, Arthur. It's been quite a revelation this evening. Do you think it bothers Ruairi to not have his father's name, to be a Donovan, not to be an Aldridge?
Do you know, I've never really got that sense. I think there is, without knowing too much, there's a curiosity about Siobhan, and this kind of, as I say, without him knowing too much, there's plenty of occasions where I think it's he's asked and wants to know these things. I think also the age, I don't know if it's the age gap between him and the rest of the siblings is so large that it's almost like, I don't know, he's away from the rest of the Aldridges a bit. He's just there with Brian and Jenny. So whether it plays on his mind that his the illegitimacy or whatever of it is something that that bothers him. Whether that will be something as he grows older, I don't know, but I've never really got that sense. I think there's obviously the longing, the emptiness of Siobhan, I think, is the thing in his life that is what has bothered him, not knowing this thing, this kind of half of himself that is missing and a mystery. So that's why these episodes were so great, because for me it filled in so much. I think for Ruairi it filled in a lot. So I think that's more the thing about.
And that's really what made me think about the name thing when he said, I can't remember my mother. I was 4, but I can't remember her at all. And I just thought, thinking of a little boy at that age and growing up and going to school and the way kids can be, asking, why are you a Donovan and your daddy is a, and so the corollary, and I know we're probably running out of time, would be, do you think Brian would prefer you to be an Aldridge?
Yeah, now there's a question. I think there must be, there's obviously the guilt that must surround Brian, and the love, for what for what he's done. But they did love each other so much that is that I don't know if that's like, if it's a tribute to her, that it's not the Aldridge name that Ruairi carries, that it's it's that Irish heritage that stays with him.
She can't be forgotten, can she?
Yeah, quite. So I think that's possibly it. But
I think also, Arthur, I mean, Ruairi was 4 when she died, and she did have that German boyfriend as well. So I'm not sure if you know anything about him, but she had a German boyfriend.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
Stefan.
Stefan. It's true.
So she did.
Shouldn't be telling you these things.
Yeah, she had a German fella on the go for a while.
Blimey.
I tell you what, right? Your mum, considering she wasn't in Ambridge long, she did put the cat amongst the pigeons. Good and proper. Good and proper. Helen M, right? You are always on these Zoom calls, and that's the first time you've asked a question.
Yeah, well, that's the first time somebody else hasn't asked the question I wanted to ask. So, yeah, no. But I just, because the storyline has been so gripping with Ruairi, and it just, just really resonated with me, that poor little child, taken away, and then he's thinking, why do I have a different name to my to Jenny and my daddy, and just wondered if you felt that coming through in the story, if you felt, because what happened at school we don't know, and you probably don't know, but that's the sort of thing that children get really badly ribbed about.
Well, yeah, this is, I think, possibly, yeah, in his childhood past, I wouldn't be surprised, thinking about it. Why? Because absolutely questions you'd ask, but it's I guess it's strange.
I tell you what. I am jumping in because I know that there's people who are going to start to log off, right? But what I would have said, though, just to answer your question, Helen, and for you, Arthur, is I would have thought when Ruairi went away to boarding school with an Irish accent, that would have been the bigger deal.
True.
Him going away with that accent, he would have got ribbing about that. But I know that people have other things to be doing, and we're a little bit past the hour. So there's going to be a last question from Trish Doob, who has put her hand up. So Trish, if you want to unmute yourself, ask your question, and then we can draw proceedings to a close. Trish, go for it, Trish. Right, Trish has put her hand up. Said she wanted to ask a question. Maybe she's going to put the kettle on or something. Right. So, Rosie, Quentin, why don't you bring proceedings to an end in a fitting manner?
Well, I was doing some deep background research on Arthur before we came on air, and I know you're from Aylesbury. Is that right, Arthur?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And you've been speaking at length to the Bucks Herald.
I have, yes. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Back in 2018, you were quoted as saying, "I have yet to meet any real avid fans of the Archers." Well, here you are.
Oh, really? I think
What the hell do you make of us? Eh?
I think you're a lovely bunch. Absolutely.
That's very kind of you to say, and it's been lovely hearing from you. And will you be listening to the podcast in future? There's only one answer to that, by the way.
Yeah, I think it would be an absolute yes.
Absolute yes. And will you take part in the tweet along on a Sunday?
Oh, a tweet along on a Sunday. What, along to the omnibus?
Have you heard about the tweet along?
No.
Oh, it's a major tweeting event every Sunday. Well, during the week, but the big one's Sunday. And there's a hashtag The Archers, capital T, capital A. Yeah. And most of us pile on there and vent really about things. And we compliment as well, don't we? We have been gushing this week about, well, last week about you and Siobhan, and this week with Alice and Chris. I mean, I think we're all in shock from this week at the moment.
Absolutely.
But, please join us, because people like Kerry Davis, the script writer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I have seen actually, yes, on Twitter.
And Ben does as well. Ben.
Yeah, Ben. Ben tweets a lot. Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. When you next see Ben, could you say hello from my wife Emma Rayner?
I will, of course.
Because he's from Nottingham, and she was doing a sort of street theatre with Ben about a year ago. And tell him that he came in and took over the reading from her in the Broadway cinema. He may remember, but I'm duty bound to remind him. Okay,
I will. I promise you.
Kind of like a 7 degrees of separation. I don't have any of that, Arthur. I think other than just to say thanks so much for spending an hour of your time with us.
Yes, thank you very much.
My pleasure, honestly.
It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Right, everybody, that's been your Dumteedum on Zoom. We are communicating with Mr. Ben Norris to get him on. I'm Arthur's pal and mucker. So when that happens, you'll be the first people to know, either via Twitter or the podcast or the Flick apps. A big up to the Flick app posse. That's been us. I tell you what, folks, it's only 12 o'clock here in California, so I've got the whole day ahead of me. So I'm going to go out into Californian sun and chill out. You enjoy grey, dank, lockdown Britain. Ta-da a bit.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Royfield.
Bye.
Thanks, Art. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Arthur.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Royfield. That was fabulous. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.